Good evening. How are you? Well, it's nice out. The temperature is about 69. It's good walking weather, and the humidity is 36. Can't feel that. And the wind's 7 miles an hour, and the trees and so forth don't seem to upset that. I don't know if you have the same kind of topography where you are, but in Loudoun County in Northern Virginia, where I am, when they built the roads, they tried to have them sink into invisibility. They thought that this allowed you to see the landscape in a certain way, and they found that it had certain benefits. It was sort of like you don't build a house on the top of a hill, even though many would like to have that view, because it affects your ability to contain warmth, and the wind can wreak havoc with your view shed, if you will. So what do we have today? I did a thing earlier because I couldn't get out of my mind this kind of poetic notion I had about well, a soft face. And it's online if you want to see it. Yesterday I spoke a little bit about the environment, and today apparently they announced that Leo Zeldin, who voted against certifying the electors back in 2021 and was a member of Congress, and who had issues on Long Island about water, that he's going to be the EPA administrator. Well, here he is representing a community concerned about contaminated water, but he voted to repeal the Clean Water Rule. And the significance of that is water that runs through these little streams here and creeks feed aquifers. And some of these streams go into the Potomac. And the Potomac is a source of water for the surrounding counties. And when I ran to be reelected to the Soil and Water Conservation District, a farmer said he was voting for me. He said because the positions that I took were compromising the low water drought situation on the Potomac. The way he put it was because of guys like me and a lot of other people, we're fighting the ability of people to just walk across the river because it's so low, because of policies that don't recognize the drought and overuse it and so forth. Well, this is a problem, and there's a host of them, and I know you know about them, and they become relevant when you consider that the meeting on climate change worldwide is in Azerbaijan, and it appears, if I got my information right, we may not be going to that. I don't know how that's possible, but I understand Trump wouldn't go to it. I don't know that he has any say in why we wouldn't go to it, and why we would change our position before he takes office. We should be there. We should be rattling cages. The world is a little crazy. It's like we've been reasonable for a period of time, now we're going to go insane. So we're going to re-equip, reinstall, and turn on at 3 Mile Island, where we had this nuclear disaster years ago. And then we have a guy, Elon Musk, who is interested in electric cars, who's on the wrong end of a tariff, having dinner with Trump about that, and they make fun of him on SNL, and he gets very upset about it, thin-skinned. So this is our problem: the irrational, unpredictable impulses. And who wants to lead an agency that you would then go about destroying? I can't figure that out. We have a couple of problems about how we think. So, for example, if I'm a voter and I basically vote and take a position that I know is discrimination, There's not a law against that. But then we have commentators who then speak about what the voters want as if we should do that. That is, for example, say with discrimination, discriminate. You know, that we should, I don't think our kids should see these books. Okay, so we're going to pass a law, and I promise you if I'm elected, I'll pass that law so that the kids can't see the books. Well, that's not something we should respect after the election. So you see the lines of error in how we conduct our business. Because we have people talking about the results of an election, and I'm assuming it's all fair. I don't know that that's true, but I'm assuming that right now. And so the election's entirely fair, but people are voting in ways that contradict our laws, and some people are then arguing that we should sit down and talk to these people so that we Democrats, Independents, Republicans, can get their votes in elections. Well, if you're going to unleash the hounds of hell to vote in ways that are against the laws of the land, do you defer to that as a leader in Congress to keep your phony baloney job rather than to fight for policies that protect persons of color, that protect women, that care about care? And the talk shows seem to be saying, how can we conform with these wrong-headed policies that are against what America is all about and get their votes so we get elected the next time? So we want to enshrine biases and prejudices and bad thinking and wrong thinking and stupid thinking because somebody won an election. No. What we have to do is go back to square one in the sense of respecting the laws of the land and explaining and persuading that these are the laws of the land, and go on from there. A similar argument is, okay, there's no question Trump is a scoundrel. There's no question his policies are not in the best interest of a nation that believes there's equal justice for all and no person should be above the law. But he doesn't believe in equal justice, and he is prepared to go way sky high above the law. And people are going to argue that we have to bow and curtsy to this wrong-headed notion of what it means to be the chief executive of the, well, formerly greatest, or one of several greatest powers on the planet. That's just wrong. A person who was a scoundrel when they were running, though they win, remain a scoundrel. And in fact, I think I said the other day that Trump, who hadn't signed the ethics provisions in order for the transition, shouldn't be given any favors if he wouldn't do it. And he's not going to do it. You know, so one by one, again, we see this pattern. And if you continuously say, we're not going to enforce the law or the Constitution against you, then they do whatever they want. It's an easier step to be the person who is the dictator he wants to be. Finally, and I guess briefly, because I think I'm losing the light, finally, we have this situation in which this is Veterans Day. And it's a strange day to me because I see people celebrating the men and women who served this nation. I spoke, or I wrote online about my dad and uncle who served in World War II. And my uncle, because of wounds in World War II, ultimately died of those, we believe. And there were advantages with the GI Bill and so forth that came out of that. And my dad had basically, I think, been a mostly a bright street kid before his service. And my mom cared about education, and I think she was probably quite a student. But there are people all across the country today who are thinking of those who did serve, are serving, gave their lives in service, perhaps went to a graveyard site or a columbarium to celebrate who they were and what they did. And I can't imagine anything more incongruous than having a person like Trump who thinks they're suckers for having given the service they did to this nation. So if you want to assemble the variety of things that Trump is planning to do, including retribution, then you have to think about a couple of things, which is, how do I protect myself psychologically and physically? And when I say physically, I mean that you can't measure easily the pressure that comes upon us because of the president that we now have. And so you have to deal with that. And you have to deal with the question, are you going to go someplace else? Although the world has shrunk and every place else is going to have some of the problems that are caused in large part by what we decide to do wrongly in the next several years. And I'm not saying people should stay and fight. Everybody has to make up their own mind what they're going to do, what they can do, what they want to do, what they'd be at peace with themselves to do. So that's the challenge to us as citizens who've seen more and seen better. And the longer we've been on this planet, the more we've seen the changes. We saw Nixon. We saw Reagan, who had his own war. We saw the two Bushes back to back. And we saw Bush create a whole war, apparently to honor his dad and do other things and lied about it. But the supreme ne plus ultra of misconduct is Trump. Many of us are too old to think of this as a youthful charge to change things, able to give up infinite amounts of time, not needing lots of money to do things like, well, maybe no less than saving America. So that's what I've got on this day. So happy Veterans Day. I hope all of you can think about it, and in the extended family that survived those who are not with us anymore, that you hugged each other and had a good meal and are ready to go back to work tomorrow. So I say good evening to you from our cathedral of trees. All the best. Bye-bye.